Hi, everybody. I'm waiting to have on Marianne, our special needs coach.
Transition through divorce. And hi, Marianne.
Hey, how are you,
Good.
Karen?
Good to have you on again.
Thanks.
I always love our discussions, and today is no different. I just wanted to say, for kids in general, divorce is a huge transition, right? So today we're going to talk about tips and stuff that you can give for those parents who have special needs children.
Sure, yeah, happy to do that. And like you said, these tips might apply to
Mm-hmm.
any family and any child. So
Yeah,
depending on their level and their age. So definitely happy to share some advice and tips that I've seen work in my family and other families as well.
great. So let's start. So what are the tips even before if you're thinking about divorcing? Do you start talking to the kids then, or is it just on the day of? Like
Yeah,
go
yeah,
ahead,
it's a
sorry.
great question. So I would suggest that we don't surprise anybody,
Okay.
especially the kids. And so they're going to want to have information so they can process slowly what's happening. You don't have to give them all the details or talk about specifically about divorce, but maybe uh, start spending time with each parent. For instance, if one child is especially each child is all the time with the primary caregiver,
Mm-hmm.
then we want to give opportunity to the for the child to spend time with the other parent, so the parent can also feel comfortable with that time alone, rather than one weekend all of a sudden there they are and neither of them are really comfortable with that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully we have parents that are involved in the child's life, but sometimes that's not the case. So if that is the case, then we want to make sure that we um, gradually increase the time that other parent might have with that child, and hopefully get that other parent up to speed on what they need to do and be aware of when that child is with them.
Yeah, that's a really good point, right? It helps with the children adapt better and not having, as that suddenness of, which could be hard, right?
Right, right. And you can say things like, mom and dad are going to have separate homes,
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to spend time in each home, and like we said, increase that time, because kids with autism specifically have a really hard time with change and
Mm-hmm.
adjusting to sudden changes in their schedule. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why we want to do things gradually, let
Right.
them know a little bit what's going on. We don't have to give them all the adult details by any means, and we want to maintain, of course, as positive relationship as we can with both parents, and
Mm-hmm.
not talk negatively about either parent in front of the kids,
Mm-hmm.
or hopefully not to other people when the kids are perhaps listening. We don't realize they're
Mm-hmm.
listening, even though they may not be verbal, for instance. They can still process and understand what's going on. And if even not the words, perhaps the body language and tone
Yeah.
about things in the house too.
Yeah. I was just saying yesterday on a meeting that you even have to be careful about your eyes and stuff because you know, we'll roll our eyes and kids are pretty, and they'll look at you going, something's up here, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they can catch on. They'll kind of say, something wrong if they can, or they'll try to, they'll sense something, and then it may produce anxiety for them.
Hmm.
So we want to limit that, of course.
Right. Right. So, any other tips and tricks as you transition through the divorce? Like, do you sit down and talk to them? Like, I know it's all developmental too. So, anything you want to say about that?
Yeah, so I say when you get to that point that you've decided for sure this is going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some sudden changes about to happen, then yeah, I would suggest having a talk with the children together, with
Mm-hmm.
both parents present, and do it in a positive way as much as we can. Right? I know divorce is hard and can be emotional, but we want to protect our kids and let them know that they're going to be okay, because they're
Mm-hmm.
concerned about what's going to happen to them, where are they going to live, what's going to happen to their everyday routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if you can kind of, for the parents, I would suggest sitting down ahead of time, either between yourselves, or bring in a divorce coach or mediator or a third party to kind of help you facilitate those discussions among yourselves first.
Mm-hmm.
Something I recently did with a couple, and I think it was helpful to them, so that they can then have discussions with their children and get on the same page as to how things should proceed.
Yeah, I think that's really beneficial because I think a lot of us you know, I did it not the right way. And I think that's kind of changing now, where we're trying to tell people it's, you know, even to prep before, it can really help, really in the best interest of the children, right? And sometimes we have to act and pretend it's all okay for the sake of the children, right? So that's a really good point, to see a co-parenting coach, to see someone like you, or anyone like a mediator too, that can come and just kind of empower you and coach you along with this very, very difficult discussion
Right.
that it can be.
Right, because the kids are going to have questions. So you want to have those answers kind of prepared, or at least consider what they might ask. For instance, where am I going to live? Where am I going to go to school? And even if they can't verbalize those things, you want to share that in a way that they can process. And one way for kids who, depending on the level of ability and even various level of ability, you can tailor it. There's something called a social story that we may have talked about a little bit in one of our past discussions, about putting together something as a transition guide, a little storybook format as to what's happening to the family and what they can expect. And that itself can help be reassuring to them, and they can refer to it. You can share that with the school, you can share it with others, and they can take time to process what's happening, become comfortable with the schedule that's going to happen, when they're going to spend time with mom versus dad or whoever the caregiver may be. So also having a visual schedule in terms of, okay, these are the days, so you can look at that. It's like, okay, yeah, maybe it's confusing, maybe it's overwhelming. So which days, if it's consistent, I would suggest over time, hopefully having something that is consistent, so they can kind of use that as an expectation. Say, okay, these are the days that you're, you know, with mom, these are the days that you're with dad, and you know, so on. So that way they can be ready as well.
Yeah, so that would be like maybe a big calendar.
Exactly. You could do it as a calendar. You could do it as a little checklist, whatever is going to work for you.
Yeah, it's visible, right? So it makes it easy for the whole family to kind of guide. Okay, we're off to dad's, we're at mom's, you know. So yeah.
Right. And as much as you can, if you can try to have similar things at mom and dad's house, granted, each parent's going to parent the way they would like, but if you could have some common tools and things for reference that both parents are in agreement with, and that the child can then refer to and say, okay, well, this is what I need to look at. This is what I need to refer to if I have a question. And hopefully there's a good communication back and forth. So even with one child is with another parent, that parent has a question or concern, definitely the lines of communication hopefully are open enough where those questions can be asked regarding the child's care.
What are some of the biggest concerns or problems you see when your kids are special needs with divorce, that like with this transition period? What are some of the things that you might want to tell people about, to be careful about? Or we know communication is really important, and how we have to behave in the best interest of the child. Is there anything that you want to, you know, that you've seen that you want to kind of tell people?
Sure. So I guess I wouldn't be afraid to share information with the community. For instance, school's about to start pretty soon. And so if a divorce is happening or in the works, or you're thinking about it, let the child's school know, because that way, if there is some behavior issues or some anxiety, then the teacher can pick up on that and attribute that to, okay, it must be because of that situation, as opposed to having them guess, you know, why is Johnny acting out in class or not participating. They may have a better understanding and provide some more support, share with them the social story, or find other resources at school that could possibly help them too. So a lot of people tend to want to keep it to themselves, but I would say, you know, reach out to the schools, to your village, whatever that might look like, to therapists, let them know, and they can help as well.
Yeah, because I did that with my own kids. I thought it would be beneficial, just in case, you know, there's anxiety, or they're not eating their lunches, or, you know what I mean? Whatever behavior that was kind of was going to be different, that teachers would kind of have a idea, maybe have a better idea. So yeah, that's a great tip.
Yeah. And also I would say, you know, maybe hard for all families, you know, as these traditions happen, but we don't want the child to feel like they're taking sides. And I know this applies to all families, right? But so we want to encourage that visit to the other parent, or stay with them in a positive fashion. Like, oh, these are the things you're going to do with mom or with dad, you know, while you're with them. And so as opposed to making it an emotional time, and making it the separation even harder than it might be or needs to be, we want to do it in a, non-emotional approach and provide encouragement. Say, okay, we'll look forward to seeing you when you get back, but these are all the fun things you might be doing with dad. So they leave with a positive tone and hopefully come back with a positive tone as well.
Right. The positive tone is really important, right? So, because I was just talking to a master's of social work about co-parenting, and we were starting to talk about grief, and he mentioned that we forget that children grieve 100% of the time, right? Like when they leave you could be grieving because you don't have them, but when the child could be grieving because they're at their dad's, they're missing mom, they're at their mom's, they're missing dad. So I just thought I really love that, because I think it's the more aware we are about that, like that kids are also grieving the transition too, right? And I love the fact that you said, like, put it on a positive tone, because then they're feeling like, right, like better about going off to their dads or moms for however long they are. So it's really like that.
Right. And I apologize for the noise. I got the yard pulled back in the back right now, and then it's about to start raining. So sorry for
Okay.
that. But yeah. So also, if they're not used to being that away from that parent for a long time, or they miss them, then it's okay to hopefully have that contact, or either do a FaceTime or a phone call or something to let them know that everyone's okay, and have them check in. And over time, that may instances that may decrease, but let them know that if you want to reach out to mom, or dad, it's okay to do that, just to check in or whatever. We don't want to take over the other parenting time, but it's okay if they want to check in and provide an update, because other parents probably kind of concerned as well as to what's happening. So it gives everybody a sense of relief.
So after the transition, how long does it, what's the normal, about a year and a half, 2 years or so, or for the families to get both transitioned, like to get normalized? Is it the same for special needs, Marianne?
It's hard to say, because everyone's going to be different, but I've heard even within a divorce for parents, it takes about 3 years to really go through all the grieving and get used to your new life. And so the more we can provide support during that process, maybe seek out some mental health professionals, other programs, support groups, whatever it might be, for that child and for that family, it's going to lessen the time that it's going to take to adjust.
Yeah. Well, this is a great topic. Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so I would say, in terms of that social story, I have an
I love that.
example on my YouTube channel, Special Family Transitions. If you want to refer to that, I can put it in the comments afterwards as well. But know that you and your kids will be okay. It's better for the kids to be in a happy household if it's a single household, as opposed to being together when there's a lot of conflict. That impacts the kids a great deal too. So if people are concerned about getting divorced and they have kids with special challenges, then everyone will be okay. Know that you can do it. There's support there, from people like us and other things that I can share as well.
Yeah, that would be great if you could post that up, or you can also DM either of us, and I'll forward you Marianne's webpage as well, because I think that would be a good resource for people. So we can do that. Yeah. Is there any events or anything coming up that you want to tell everybody about before we go?
Sure. Yeah. So I've got some autism summits coming up for different organizations. So keep a lookout on my my Instagram, or they'll be on my Special Family Transitions Facebook page or my personal page as well. So yeah, keep in touch and follow me for all those events coming up. I've got lots of podcasts that are being released this week as well, in addition to this. So yeah, lots of information for everyone to learn different aspects of divorce, support themselves and support their kids, and how to advocate for their kids in the process.
Yeah, we could do another live about learning to co-parent, because I'm sure it's difficult when your child leaves, and if you have been always the primary caregiver, how does that feel, right? So I don't know if that's a topic that you would like to talk about, but I was just thinking out loud, maybe that would be something we could talk about.
Yeah, most definitely we can do that, and also how to share information between parents so that co-parenting is successful, and that each parent is comfortable with the child in each other's care.
Yeah.
So for sure.
I think that'd be great. So, all right, you could, if anyone have any questions for us or Marianne, otherwise, join us next month. I'd love to talk to Marianne again. I learned so much, and she's a great resource for parents who have special needs. It's really good. It's really important stuff. So, thank you for joining, Marianne, and we'll talk to you soon. And thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.